Also, let's bring our next guest on.
Yes. Well, okay. So okay.
I'm already queued up and ready to
go. So we have Megan Clark coming on. She went to Duke, where she has the indoor and outdoor school record in the pole vault.
More smart people.
Yes, we're excited to have her on.
Hey guys.
Megan!
Hi. Also, before you get in, yes, people, come to FanFest to get in on the chat. Cecilia mentioned that, but I want to say that for if you have any questions for Megan, us, come to FanFest to get in on the chat so we can chat with you.
Yes, and we have Megan, the pole vaulter. That was funny for me.
Bring the culture to pole vault.
Hi, how are you? How are you doing?
Good. It's good. It's so hot here, but you guys know that.
Where are you?
Where is
in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have you on. First of all, like, I only know 2 black pole vaulters, and you're one of them. So I just think that's so amazing, because I feel like we were talking about yesterday, like, us getting into spaces that we're normally not seen, and I think it's really, I feel like having us in all the events is also going to be inspiring for kids who, like, because representation matters. Mm-hmm. And I remember I wanted to try pole vault, and they wouldn't let me, because they were like, get on these hurdles.
You're not built for it. Yeah.
So how did you get into pole vault? Like,
so actually, I started as a gymnast, right? And I tried a bunch of different events. Yeah. Gymnastics is the perfect feeder system for pole vault. So having role models like Dominique Dawes and Gabby Douglas and Simone now should be a really good way to get more black pole vaulters in the game. But I started, go ahead.
Can you explain, because I'm like, I know why it makes sense, the transition from gymnastics to pole vault, but can you break down why it is helpful, like they have helpful skills?
Yeah, so the kinesthetic awareness that you build in gymnastics is exactly what you need for pole vault, right? You swing really well, you know where you are in space. Usually you have to get over the not being able to run correctly issue, because in gymnastics you run on your toes a lot, and having to fix that's usually everyone's biggest problem. But you know where you are. And in pole vault, that's so important, because you can move the bar, you can change the pole you're on. So being able to figure out where you are in space relative to everything else is so important. And just not being afraid to go upside down. Like, everyone's like, oh, aren't you scared? No.
Yeah. She said no fear. God is not giving you the spirit of fear. We love it. And you can see that also you have a lot of upper body strains from this video right here from Mozelle, your sponsor. I think they're going to play it, or I play it. There we go. I thought the producers were doing everything.
We're still figuring out how to work this.
Come on, upper body strain. Come on, bicep, tricep, deltoid. Let's get it.
How high is that?
Sorry?
How high is that?
I don't know how high it is, but it's to the roof of Randall Tyson. So it's the height of our indoor facility.
You got up there quick. That video was 14 seconds.
I also want to say that I have been running track for 20-something years, and what you just told me is everything that I know about pole vault. So thank you. Point being, like, we need more, like, I've watched the event, of course, but, like, you breaking down, like, being aware of your spatial awareness and, like, where you are being upside down. I never heard it broken down like that. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's interesting just because it's exactly the same every time. So, like, hurdles, you know that. Your steps have to be the same or else things get wrecked. Pole vault is the same thing, because if you're not consistently the same down the runway, you can't make changes at the pit. So if you're hitting it at a different angle every time and the timing's different, it's just,
dang, it took me. Okay, so you got into pole vault because of gymnastics, and then we have a toddler downstairs.
The toddler and shady producers.
And then just, like, can you talk about your journey from, okay, I did this in college, I was a standout in the ACC, and then, like, transitioning to being a professional athlete with Boiselle, which we love, because I feel like they're very, like, they're like a female focused.
Yes.
Female focused, but also they promote activism and like causes. So
Yeah, so it's a company created
More fun.
by women for women, right? Like they
Mhm.
produce shirts like women's rights or human rights. It's so cool. And they're involved in almost everything, anywhere, that's my dad, anywhere that there's space to speak up for equality or human rights, women's rights of any kind, Wazel's there. They're
Mhm.
in the fight, which has been incredible. So I actually started pole vault because I had to do a sport every season because my dad's in the army. So we moved almost every year, and that would be your like set of friends when you moved. That way you had people. So I started pole vaulting in high school. Sorry?
I said that's cool. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I went to 3 different high schools in 3 different states. So I found like my pole vault family in New York after having started vaulting in Georgia. And I actually almost quit for competitive cheer. And because the rule was we could change sports every time we moved. And when we moved to New York, yes.
That was that's all I got for you. Okay.
We moved to New York and I found my pole vault family. Like you said, I went to college at Duke, and it was phenomenal. As you guys were saying before I got on, it was a hard transition into college. You know, suddenly you're looking at a long term build instead of how do I jump higher next week? You're looking at how do I jump higher in 4 years? So
Mm.
that was really tough. When I graduated, I went to the Olympic Training Center and spent a few years working there. Really learned how to advocate for myself and how to advocate for other people. So I think that's what makes Wazel so great is that they give you a voice. They're all about amplifying the voices of women, of athletes, of anybody, of anyone with something good to say.
Yeah, and we
So
see that with this tweet here, them like you said, amplifying your voice. And we see you said we need a community that comes together in times like these. Racism is running rampant in our country, and it's our responsibility to take the fight where we can. And I feel like this past year, especially with the pandemic, we've seen like activism being a huge part of athletes' stories and platforms. And I would love to just like get your take on that and like how you feel like you are contributing to it. I just feel like you being a black girl in pole vault is revolutionary in itself. Period. Existing as a black woman,
is a form of protest,
but
right?
yeah.
It is activism. But this tweet was actually because of a blog post I wrote last year. I had a sponsor who was heavily invested in a company in a magazine that posted a picture of all of these vaulters standing under Confederate flag doing nothing, just standing there. And so I spoke out against it. Some of the other vaulters did the same thing, and my poll sponsor made it very difficult for me to stay with them because they were saying like, "Oh, we might have to drop you. Our investors, they think you overreacted. You should whatever, right?" And Wazel called me and they said, "Hey, if you need to drop your sponsor and you need somebody to pay for your polls, let us know."
That's awesome. Because I feel
Mhm.
like that's what happens with a lot. It's like, hey, just shut up, do your job, and like if you don't stay in line, act right, like there will be
Yeah.
repercussions.
Right,
And it
but
like they
what they
control you
didn't
with money.
realize, there are a bunch of different pole brands. So as soon as this happened, I basically said like, "Hey, I can't represent you guys. I appreciate all the things you've done for me, but I've got to go." And UCF Spirit came in and was like, "What do you need? We can get you polls this week."
Shout out to UCS
Sure,
Spirit.
yeah, but
Like,
I also appreciate you not being afraid of using your voice and not being afraid of those repercussions
yeah.
because a lot of athletes, especially, we've had town hall calls and like, what does protesting look like? How do we use our platform and our voice? And a lot of athletes are afraid, if I use my voice, does this mean I could be putting my livelihood on the line? And not just for racism. I mean, we've been seeing it with motherhood and women,
LGBTQ.
LGBTQ athletes. So really, having a platform, number one, and being able to use the platform for good, but then
Mhm.
having sponsors back you up on it.
Yeah, that made all the difference. Because it's
Yeah.
scary to put yourself out there. You don't know how people are going to react. You don't know if it's you overreacting or if, if they're right. Do you have a voice here? Do you have space to talk? Is it up to you? But I feel like, especially in pole vault, where there are so few people of color, you have to. You have to speak up because if this is what we're putting out in mass media, that it's okay for us to have club teams that have Confederate flags and all sorts of stuff hung up in them, and that we're just okay with that as a community, people aren't going to want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I think especially with companies, like I know that like technically we are products, you know, like but we're also human beings, we're people. And like I think it's so interesting to me when people are like, well, you guys are athletes, you guys should just shut up and play, you know, shut up and compete. And it's like, y'all, we say the same thing. You're just a lawyer. Just shut up and sue. Like, you know, like
your expertise ends with your career, actually.
Like, and we have these platforms because we're very talented, but like I feel like as an athlete, we have an obligation to our community to stand up for them. And like, it's like I also love it's like on one hand it's like shut up and compete, but then when we do something else, it's like, but you're a role model. Like,
right.
Which one do you want? Do you want to only influence and inspire kids when it suits you? When it suits you, for your agenda. Yeah. And I also see that you do a lot of promotion of Feeding America on your page. Like, you are using your platform for good, which is awesome. Is there like a special connection to why you chose to be an advocate or ambassador for Feeding America?
It was just something that Athletes for Hope was a part of, and they've been really helpful getting me involved in the community. Like, I worked with them in the Ronald McDonald House and just wellness in general. I'm actually starting medical school in 2 weeks. So
come on, medical school.
Yeah.
Do you know what doctor you want to be?
I think I want to go into peds orthopedics.
Okay, well, when I have some things.
Liam's a little bow leg, so we'll
You might need to fix that before I graduate.
So how is it being a athlete who is about to become a doctor? How are you balancing that?
It is so weird. So I ended up retiring right after trials just because of some Achilles issues that have been recurrent for years now.
What is with Achilles? I have Achilles issues too.
It's crazy. I don't know what they're putting in the spikes, but man.
My coach said it's the first thing to go. Like, it's just, that's the first thing to go on an athlete.
I appreciate you coming to the show with a pink mug. Just saying, thank you.
You're so welcome. I love the whole ambiance you guys have created.
Thank you.
But yeah, in the last month, I've basically transitioned to being a normal person, which is really weird. I don't realize
medical student is normal. She said, I went from excellence to excellence. Okay. Successful to successful.
Oh, you guys are the hype I need in my life.
We're here for it. And speaking of, you said you went to you started training at the Olympic Training Center when you first went pro. Mm-hmm. Is that where you met your little booth thing?
Kind of. So we, the track world's so small. We lived like 200 feet from each other for a year before we started dating.
Okay.
And then we became really good friends, and then more than that, and it's been awesome. Like, yeah.
And how is it like?
Also, wait. Does everybody know who the little boo is?
Oh yeah, Ryan Croucher, world record holder in the shot put.
Is it of him?
Yeah, he's pretty good at shot.
So like what I'm learning about Megan is like, if she's going to do something, it's going to be top tier.
Right. It's regular to her, but it's top tier.
She said being excellent is regular. That is normal.
Yeah, my dad actually growing up used to say excellence is the standard. And so my brother and I look at him and we're like, well, if that's the standard, what's above the standard? That's just what everyone has to do. Like what does it even mean anymore? But hey, it taught us.
Write that down. That's a quote.
Look at her sitting.
Excellence is the standard.
Come back to listen.
She said, excellence is the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
And she said, and even if it comes to my man,
no, get on my level. Okay.
She said it's above that level. Stop. And she said, even my man has to be excellent. If your man's not the best in the world on something, I don't want him. Listen. No, not in the best in the world on something of all time. Of all time. Like, she said, but like, that's nothing because I'm going to be a doctor.
Come on. Getting sex for the rest of her life. He just throwing the shot right now.
Feel my chest right now. I'm so excited about this. But,
Yeah,
Just a
let's
quick
get back
question,
on
because it's
track.
like, here's the thing: is like me and Natasha, we don't want to reduce you to like your relationship is no. But I do want to know what it's like, not because Toki is not allowing fans. How is it like trying to like support him and not being able to be in the stands? Because
Yeah, it's tough,
It's
especially with the 14-hour time change.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
when I get up in the morning at 5 a.m., it's 7 p.m. there. You know, so just coordinating when we can talk and what's going on with him has been kind of difficult, but it's good. He'll be fine.
She said he just has a record.
Yeah,
It's not a big deal.
That's the bare minimum.
He's been there
what
before.
Are we talking about?
It's not his first rodeo. I believe in him. He's got it.
He said,
actually, when he broke the world record indoors, I was vaulting at the same meet, so we were right there, and so he breaks the world record, and they're like, "Oh, you're up." I'm like, oh, "Okay, guess just life as usual, right?" Like, that's crazy. And then it was a Sunday, and they don't sell alcohol here on Sundays, and of course we were not ready with the champagne, so it was ice cream all night. It was great.
I love it.
But the next time I was ready.
Yeah, and
when he broke it outdoors, we were ready.
I think we have.
You didn't catch that.
Wait, what?
The first time he broke the world record,
yeah,
we didn't have the champs. But the next time,
he said, "If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready."
Yep.
And here's a picture. He's taking a picture. That's from that world record, that first world record he got.
I love it.
Actually, Ryan was on my first team I ever made, youth, and I always would make sure. For some reason, I was always sitting with the throwers at mealtime.
The throwers, honestly, is like the coolest.
Yeah,
the throwers and the jumpers.
And I always make sure, like, if like we got pizza a bunch of times because we were in Italy, and I kept stealing. Oh, it was my second team because it was World Youth. And I kept stealing an extra pizza because I was like, I'm sitting with the throwers. But Ryan's always been like one of my favorite people.
Ryan's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Ryan's pretty dope
with his cowboy hat and everything.
So, are you starting med school this fall, or?
Yeah, I start school in 2 weeks.
And where are you going again?
Arkansas. It's the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences.
Oh my goodness.
Staying here. When you guys come to Fayetteville, you'll have to stop by.
We will.
Yeah, I'll have you come check out my feet. I'm a little flat-footed, so you know. Look,
maybe you can fix my Achilles. Like, pray on it.
Hey,
something.
I gotta fix my own first. We'll see.
And here's the other thing. This is the other thing I want to talk about, because first we talk about how we need more Black women in pole vault. I can name Black women. But then representation, because we need more Black women doctors, because I mean, I feel like it's been highlighted before that doctors do not take Black patients seriously, and we do not get the care that we need. And I think having Black doctors you can actually relate to, who actually take your concerns seriously, is very important. And like, everything that you're doing is what we need. And I thank you. I was gonna say thank you in advance, but yeah, can you talk about that though?
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of trust issues in the Black community with medical professionals, right? Just because of the history of it. You've got, obviously, Tuskegee, and the syphilis experiments. You've got
anti-vaccination in our community, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but
you've got
why?
What?
It's not unjustified. It's justified.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a very troubled past with the Black community in medicine, just with research and all sorts of things not serving communities the way they should. And I think that having Black doctors is really helpful to bridge that gap and to build that trust again, especially in places like here. So in Arkansas, like, I've yet to see a Black doctor. Honestly, I've never had a Black doctor at all. But I think in rural communities, it's especially important because you don't have a lot of like widespread information. And so people just trust whatever it is that's going around and what they're being told. And you have communities where generations and generations have never really seen doctors that they trusted. And so there's no like basis for care there.
Yeah.
I love what I'm seeing happening, because there was also a time where we didn't want to go see Black doctors. So
I don't know about you.
No, I'm not
Well,
saying
it was a thing.
specifically, I'm saying our community.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yeah,
we would walk in and see a black doctor and be like, no, I don't want to see that person. I want
well,
the
it's
white
because
doctor.
of after the Great Migration, a lot of
Write it down.
doctors saw that if they could make it, they could treat white patients. So the doctors who were left to treat the black patients were the doctors that people didn't want to see or they didn't know they wanted to see, because if you were good enough, you treated white patients.
Okay. So I love that, like, our culture is changing to where we're like, no, I'm going to be a black doctor. Also, where is the black doctor? Because, like you, I mean, I've been in Austin for almost 10 years, never had a black doctor. A lot different than being a doctor, but I see a therapist every week. And when I looked for a therapist, I was like, black female therapist.
I went to a sports therapist once, and it was this like
old white man.
And I was like, we don't relate. You don't. And I just was like, yeah. And I stopped going to sports therapist because I just was like, this is who's out here. And that was when I was in LA, and I just was like, I don't see the point in it because you can't relate to me.
Yeah. We need more of us in the spaces. We need more of us that aren't afraid to take up the spaces. Something you said earlier that I was like, I've been wanting to emphasize it, because you seem to have a strong sense and emphasis and empowering community. I love the idea of when you said your dad is in the Army, you're an Army brat, but the rule was our community comes from being on a team. So I was listening to that and I was like, oh, that's a great piece of advice for military families. Like, hey, get your kids involved in a team. But that also is the sense of community. Like, we were joking the other day about sororities, and I was like, I was track by track.
Slow runs low.
I didn't need a sorority because I had my teammates, you know?
Yeah.
I actually also went to an all-white school. I was the only black kid, or there was one other, but I was in a private school from K to the 8th grade, and it was just 2 black kids. But I had my track team where we were all black, and, you know, so I had that balance, but that was my community, where at school it was tough to be the one of. But I love your sense of community and, like, being able to find that community, but then also take up the space in community and empower community, because being one of in pole vault and having the confidence and
shout out to Kristen Brown.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Actually, so Kristen and we were training together at the Olympic Training Center, and people could not tell us apart. If you've seen the two of us, we don't look anything like. And they'd come up to me and say, "Oh, I saw you at the Mountain West Conference Championship." Like, no, you didn't.
Kristen Brown, like, when I first started running track, because I know Kristen Brown because we used to do hurdles against each other, 7th and 8th grade JOs, and we like would battle it out, and we just became friends ever since. Like, we've been friends since 7th and 8th grade, and then we kind of lost touch, and then I was like, wait, Kristen Brown's out here pole vaulting? Like, how did you even switch from the hurdles to pole vault? But just, that's why I said I know 2 black pole vaulters, and you're one of them. But yeah, I think
not being afraid to use your voice in that space where it's like, you know, that you're 2 of.
Yeah.
But also realizing the importance of community. I think, like, I'm gonna get your number before we get off here, because you're the type of people that I like to brush elbows with.
She's like,
that'll be fun.
It's like, I love that you're becoming what we need. Like we see that there's gaps in our community, and you're just like filling it, and I love that
unapologetically. I'm here. Deal with it.
Yes. I'm just. This is
Black excellence.
And I think that's the other thing when I was gonna bring up, like, speaking of Black excellence, because I feel like you said that your dad's in the military and you're saying excellence is a standard. And my dad was very much the same way. He wasn't military, but he made it very clear that in order to get half of what, you know, your white peers are going to get,
work twice as hard.
Good. And like, I remember, like, because I'm a small community, and like in sports, like getting picked for the all-star team, sometimes it would be like, all right, this girl's mom is the coach, and so and it was like, I was clearly better than this girl, but she got picked. And so I realized I have to be so good, you would be stupid not to pick me.
You have to be undeniable.
I have to ball on a level where it's like, people are like, hey, why did you not? And so it got to the point, like, and luckily I had my sisters. My sisters kind of like came before me and made kind of a mark. So you knew, like, if you were on a team, your first pick should be a Carter girl. Doesn't matter the sport. Like, get her. Y'all go into the ship. Don't worry about it. But it was that. My dad was like, we do A's in this family. And I feel like Natasha said, it wasn't until junior high school till I had another black girl in my class. But luckily for me, I had 2 older sisters, and so I just thought excellence is what we do. My sister Kai went to Harvard and Brown. My sister Kelly went D1 soccer. So in my head, I was just like, yeah, like what you do is all you do is get straight A's because my sisters did it. All you do is go to college and get scholarships because that's what my sisters did. And I'm so lucky I had those role models, and I could see myself in them. So that way, I feel like that's one of the reasons why I'm so confident, and I like literally think I can do anything because my sisters were just like showing me the way.
Yeah, the culture in your family was phenomenal.
Yeah, and then when I got pro, like luckily, I came into a training group with Allison and Jenny, and they kind of just took me under their wing and was like, "This is how you become a pro athlete." And like they showed me how to become a pro athlete. And I feel like with you, like you're kind of just having to be like, all right, well, this is how you be a black pole vaulter. Me and Chris Brown went thug it out and figure it out ourselves.
And then transition to become a black doctor. While using your voice and helping the community in between and through.
Black excellence. Black excellence. Well, we love to see. Do you have any more questions?
I don't. I just.
Where can the people find you?
The amazingness of it all. Yeah.
Where can they read your blog posts?
On Instagram and Twitter is MPC Vaults, and then Wazelle has like every blog I've ever written, which is there aren't that many, but they're there. Shout out to Wazelle.
Okay. Well, we loved having you. We wish you nothing but the best of luck. I'm gonna get pregnant, have a baby, and bring that child to see you.
She's like,
there's some steps in between that.
Hey, we're not going to sweat the details yet. It's fine.
Basically, we're on the same timeline. By the time I have a child, you will like have your own practice. Don't worry.
Okay.
Natasha, unlock the things.
This is my crazy co-host. I love it.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. We love excellence is the bare minimum.
That's our new tagline. This is the track girl stuff. Like this is what track girl stuff is about. Like just I'm trying to tell you, track has like some amazing dope people that you may not hear about, but we gonna
bring the culture.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
You guys.